I hope you've checked out some of these links. There's some pretty cool stuff in the Missouri 7th. I've only spent a little time here, for a baseball game of course, but I look forward to going back. It's an amazing mix of natural beauty, interesting landmarks, and pure unadulterated fun. I'm not sure I'll ever understand how a museum about an ocean liner ended up in Branson, Missouri, but I'm looking forward to finding out. But here's a look at what's going on in the area news and some issues that resonate beyond the borders of the Missouri 7th. We'll visit a few links, and each of them will be listed out below the video on the district profile page so you can check them out yourself. I hope you enjoy the tour. One of the first links I came to when I started looking for news in Springfield, Missouri was this page, and it jumped out at me because it made me think about a question that has been occurring to me as I think about what the growth of the Branson area has meant over the years. But more on that in a second. The article is about the fact that Missouri Governor Jay Nixon last month vetoed right-to-work legislation that would have made Missouri the 26th right-to-work state. The governor said the legislation, which would bar workplace contracts that require non-members to pay union fees, would hurt the unions, drive wages down for the middle class, and subject businesses to civil liability. Proponents of the bill, which include its sponsor, a state representative from Springfield, say that getting rid of the requirement to pay union fees would actually attract business and spur economic growth. He says the pro-worker bill would, quote, create the kind of family-supporting jobs we need to accelerate our economic engine. And he went on to say that he has documented proof that freedom to work, which seems strangely capitalized, attracts job creators, and that further, those states see their wages increase faster than non-freedom to work states. We'll look into this research in a minute, but here's another bit of news about wages in Missouri. This article shows that Governor Nixon has also recently vetoed legislation that would have barred local cities from raising their local minimum wage. In the kind of odd reversal of roles that really only happens in politics, the GOP-controlled legislature wants to exert state over local control on the issue because it would be hard for businesses in multiple locations to keep track of what to pay in each. But the Democratic governor warns it would be an example of unwanted political intrusion over local policy. You wonder if both sides simply borrow the other's talking points this time around. Regardless, the issue surely matters in Kansas City, where a week after Governor Nixon's veto, the city council voted to gradually increase the minimum wage to $13 per hour by 2020. Wages matter a lot here in Missouri, and in particular the Missouri 7th. Here's a look at why. This is a spreadsheet of data from the U.S. Census Bureau. It shows, among several other things, the median household income of each of the 436 congressional districts. A 15-second math refresher. Median, as opposed to average, or mean, refers to the average entry on a list rather than the overall average of numbers. If 3 people are working and one makes $1 million a year, the second makes $60,000 a year, and the third makes $20,000 a year, their average income is $360,000. But their median income, taken from the middle person, is $60,000. Now, as you can see, the median household income in the Missouri 7th is $40,684 per year, which is below the state average, which itself is far below the national median household income, and the district is ranked number 371 of the 436 congressional districts. That's the lowest 15%. Higher wages matter a lot here. So now back to the documented proof that freedom to work will actually help those wages go up. Figuring that if there's documented proof that freedom to work helps wages go up, Google would be able to find it. So here's a simple search for the terms freedom to work, states higher wages. Amazingly, among the 1.8 million results that Google promises on this search, the description of the very first one lists the same state representative who said there was documented proof in the first place. What are the chances? Let's take a look at this bit of serendipity. As it turns out, this is an op-ed that appeared in the local Springfield paper after Representative Burleson's bill was debated in the state legislature. It comes from a site, and the original article was written by, an organization called the Mackinac Center for Public Policy in Michigan. The site's very clear about the fact that one of its primary missions is the advancement of the right to work, or as Representative Burleson calls it, the freedom to work movement. But aside from the fact that citing research from this group seems quite a bit like asking the sugar industry whether candy is good for you, the findings in the research, which the group did itself, make some leaps in assumption I think most economists would shy away from. The article points to the fact that in Oklahoma and Indiana, which both recently passed right-to-work legislation, wages went up in 2012. That's a good start. But what the research doesn't say is how they know that had anything to do with the legislation, as opposed to the fact that wages also went up nationally in the same period. Okay, next. This one we could have predicted before clicking in. At the other end of the argument, the Minnesota AFL-CIO's website points out that right-to-work states have lower wages, higher poverty, and a bunch of other bad stuff, according to the Census Bureau. But while that may be statistically true, I'm guessing that the tie to the unions is iffy at best. There are more results here, including 3 from that beacon of impartiality, the Heritage Foundation. If you don't know them, Google them. I had some hope for this story in the Wall Street Journal, but it is also an op-ed, and it's written by the leaders of Americans for Prosperity. Have you heard of them? How about the Koch brothers? They founded Americans for Prosperity. There may well be some empirical research that right-to-work states will lead to higher wages, but there certainly wasn't anything I would call documented proof within the first few pages of results. Just lots of opinion, from both sides, passing itself off as fact. So back to the Missouri-7th, where it would seem to be a fairly unassailable fact that figuring out a mechanism for wage growth is an important issue. What does the congressman have to say? Congressman Long's website is a little short on this issue. There's a link to the word jobs on the front page, but it links to House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy's website, who resides 1,500 miles away in California, and even that page says it's currently unavailable. Scrolling through the issues, there isn't anything about jobs or the economy, though on most House members' pages there is, but I did find this about small business. I looked through most of the issues listed on Congressman Long's website, and here the theme is the same as most. What the current administration has been doing is wrong. But what it doesn't say is what needs to be done to increase wages, or in this case, help small business, which presumably would help increase wages. But the congressman does offer that he would repeal the Affordable Care Act, which has been, quote, job killing since enacted in 2010. Okay, here we go again. Job growth and wage growth are undeniably different, but if the ACA is killing jobs in Missouri, that's certainly bad for wages too. Let's check that out. That's pretty easily done, so we'll Google search Missouri unemployment rate. So here we go. Missouri unemployment rate actually looks like it's been going down steadily since, when was that law enacted? 2010? If you were interpreting this for some of the earlier sites we looked at, you would almost certainly conclude that the Affordable Care Act creates jobs. I can see the headlines now. There is no evidence that that's true either, of course, but the question remains for Congressman Long and anyone else running in this district in 2016, what specifically should we do to increase wages, and why will it work? Ask the question, please, in the Missouri-7th and everywhere else where wage stagnation is an issue, which is just about everywhere. This last page is an op-ed too. It was published in the New York Times last January by Dr. Richard Florida. I have come to admire his work over the years. He's been a speaker for the Human Capital Institute, and he's the author of The Rise of the Creative Class. While it doesn't speak specifically about the Missouri-7th, it does offer a clear-eyed, objective, and interesting analysis about what drives wage growth in the red and blue states and what it means for the politics of the future. It is definitely worth a read. Thanks, folks. We'll see you later this week in the Massachusetts 3rd.